what's up? Husman here, back with a new video. I took a little holiday break to get to Egypt to enjoy myself a little bit. But now back in the studio, so I thought let's do one of those rundown videos where I run through and walk through one of my tracks. I put a link on Instagram asking you guys on my Insta stories which one you'd like. Either my original remix or my God's Creation track, which I did with Corti Organ and Max Cameron. The people have spoken, you all seem to want to know more about God's Creation, so in today's video I'm going to show you how we created God's Creation. Here we got the project. As you can see, as I always try to do with these kind of tutorials, is to label everything properly. I always got the same color scheme. I think let's start with the first interesting part. We're gonna skip past this part because I don't care that much of intros and build-ups, because intros and build-ups are basically dissected sections of the main parts. So when we get to the first part, we can hear like the thing that sticks out the most is the kick and the bass, I think. So let's have a look at that and how it's actually built up. So first let's head over to the kick. This kick, and basically we basically made this kick out of 3 kicks. We have the main kick, which sounds like the low end, gives the low end body. Then we got a top kick and another top kick. Might be a bit overkill, but I felt like this one gives the total crispiness, and this one gives the mid-high crispiness, and then this one gives the body, and together they sound like this. Just a real simple solid kick because we want to give it that Psy kind of rhythm, at least triplets, not necessarily Psy, but using a Psy bass in a slower BPM gives a really cool rhythm, so we don't need to have a really long kick. So let's look into the Psy bass. It's actually a sample, it's a Cashmere sample, and I don't use them a lot because I think a lot of people use them, but for this case I really couldn't make something similar myself, so I found this little sample. And then that's basically the whole sound. I just cut off a little of the annoying frequencies. And with this frequency shifter, I found a really cool way to make it a bit more unique. So instead of it having to sound like this, it sounds now like this. So it basically makes it a little more thin, but that fits really well with the sub I got going, which is just a basic sine wave from Massive. Now combine that with the kick and you basically got the main body of the intro drop. So as you can see, the sub uses all the low frequencies and the Psy bass is being cut at around 100 Hz and then fills up the rest of the spectrum. Now I always feel like when Psytrance you need to have some more reverb, big kind of elements. So I made some, I found some samples which would help bring this one more forward. So I got one of these ones. Little bit of reverb. It just basically look for samples from all kinds of different splice packs or just sample packs and combine them until you get something good. And then I got a really cool synth, which is actually the synth from Warriors. I'm basically doing a little bit of filter automation, which helps giving this a little bit of movement. And that's basically, if we combine all these kind of things, you'll get the whole beginning of the intro drop. And then what rest is like all kinds of little choir effects which coming up, some sci-fi effects. I use a lot of samples in this one. Actually we use because it's like a collaboration. This is a really cool sci-fi fix. And then the second part, we really wanted to go more melodic because Max Cameron made a really great string kind of melody, a really great main melody for this track. And some of you might not know Max Cameron because he's not like a dance producer, he's actually a film composer and he works a lot on trailer music for Hollywood films. So really grateful to be working with him. And he created this melody. And you might already hear like the difference between like a dance producer using Contact libraries and an actual film composer. You hear here there's a lot of more little intricate details in these strings, and they also punch a lot better through the mix, which I think is really cool. So we basically added this on the second part of the intro drop in combination with the string step, which is, I think, a string step combined with a vocal, and then also some choirs as well. And then combine that with the rest that we already had. And then you get quite a cool intro drop, I'd say. Something a little bit different, like it got that cinematic feel, but more like that dark cinematic feel, which I really like. And then to build towards the breakdown, I really want to have like a plug going, so I made like just a simple synth, and then I put an arpeggio on top of it, so without it would sound like this. But that wasn't moving enough for me, so I did it like... And then again, adding some simple filter modulation, which really brings it forward. And that's basically the whole meat of the intro drop. And then we go to a little section which I really like. And it's like, I always like when going from a drop towards a breakdown, I want to have a transition period so people can get a little bit of a breather before we're going to build up to the big stuff. And actually, if you might remember, the melody would be like this. That's also basically the main melody, so that's coming afterwards. So basically want to introduce that melody a little bit, but not too much yet. So we got this section here. Let me loop it. So this again is not a lot of synth work going on, but a lot of carefully placed sample work, which I really like to do in my breakdowns. And it started with me with using like a chant, with like a really deep one, which sounds like this. As you can see, I pitched this down 9 semitones, so normally it would sound like... But to fit it with the key, it needed to be a bit lower in volume. And then we added a lot of, in pitch, of course. And then we had a lot of risers to this, and then some little plucks. Like it's like a string plucked. It's from Analog Strings by Output, which is a really great plugin in Contact. And I love to do these little hinting effects, like we're hinting towards a melody, but we're not giving you everything yet. And then comes the main part, which is like this main synth. And the funny thing is, normally I'm the synth guy when it comes to my own productions and normally collaborations. I do the synth. But actually, Max Cameron made a really great synth, and I always think when something is really good, it's no need to change it because, yeah, it's already good. So this was a synth he made. I thought it was really great, so I just started building upon that, adding a break bass, which is just something really dark, and then basically adding the strings to it. And then the thing is, like with cinematic, I really like when it starts building, so we really made sure that the second part of this section has a different kind of melody which builds up more. And then I thought I needed to have the strings and everything, the pads to accompany this. So I made some more different kind of chords, and then I sent them to Max Cameron, who turned them into some proper cinematic progressions. So let's see where we got. I believe it's this one. Yes, this one. And then the last thing I added then is a synth arp, the one from the intro, but then with more, like the filter more opened up. And that's basically the main breakdown of this track. And then came for Nicola from Corti Organ and Daniel and me the most difficult part, which in the end was really simple, but well, the build-up, because this build-up pitches, it like increases the speed really quickly on a really natural flow, which Armin does a lot in his tracks as well. But we really didn't know exactly how to do this really natural. And in the end, it was just an arpeggiator which increased the rate gradually. So a super easy trick, but we had to take some time and to do some trial and error with this. And we basically took like the main synth and then we chopped it up and made it going quicker gradually. So that, I think, is a really cool effect. We're not necessarily doing a lot of things with the BPM and stuff. It's just basically making sure it stays in the 8-bar frame, but doing something creative with it. And then basically adding some snares to give it some context so it's not too weird. Oh, wait, harp. Basically doing the same thing, and then adding some effects to it to really start building it up. And then we come to the main drop, which is actually this part. And the trick with this one was to combine everything we had. So we had the main melody and we had the intro drop, but we wanted to combine this into something that fit for the main drop. So I always like to have like a bass step in the beginning. So I first look for a combination of sounds for this one, which was this one from the intro and this new one. And layered it with this one. So if we combine these three, combine it with the sub bass and the psy bass, gives a cool flow. And then basically we added like the main synth of the track, but then we run into the fact that we thought it would be too repetitive. So I looked for some one-shots to really follow this melody, which sounds like this. Sounds pretty terrible on its own, but combine that with the main synth. And you get something like this. And yeah, that's basically the start of this main drop, and from there on out we really built into adding stuff. So here we added a little bit of a synth. More of like the Armin, classic Armin synth. And then afterwards we thought, let's build towards the outro, but build with the melody. So we added like more melody in the third section of the main drop. And that's basically the whole track of God's creation, and I'm really happy with the outcome of this track. I really liked to have collaborated with my buddies from Corti Organ. I've known them for 10 years already, so it was a long time coming. And if you dive a bit deeper in the archive, you might find some older tracks of me with them, but you have to dive really far back. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed creating the track a few months ago together with Corti Organ and Max Cameron. It was a really cool collaborative process and we really enjoyed making the track. We truly hope you enjoyed the track, and that's all for me this week. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you like what I do, hit that like button, and I'll see you all on the next video. Take care. Bye bye.